Hi, this is TG. Thanks for watching again. Let's jump in. I found a quote on Pinterest that I'll be doing here. You'll see that. I'm going to be doing it in my altered book, my altered Richard Scarry children's book. And now I'm just going to look through for an image to go with this focal point. All my books come from thrift stores. I love art renaissance books, art history books, and also pictures of just people in general, all different people. Reader's Digest does a lot of them. This is just a Heartland book, all different people from the Heartland, different genders, ages, all different stuff. Sometimes I know exactly the image I'm going to do when it comes to a book. This is another book I looked through, I didn't like anything. I'm going to an art history book now. Just sometimes you want a regular person to voice your quote. Other times it's kind of fun to have a person from forever ago, like her. I thought she might have been cool, but then I changed my mind. So we're going to go from art history to hippies. Another really cool book I got from a thrift store. I just look for great images that speak to me. If there's more than 4 images in a book, I'm going to buy it for $1. This picture, I've seen her many times, and I knew I would use her sometime, and I feel like this is just the right place for her. I used my cheap little X-Acto knife to cut her out, and I'm just going to trim up the edge of the picture a bit to make sure it's straight, because I did not cut that line clean enough for my liking. So now I'm going to try to figure out what to do. I'm going to jostle the page first, and I apologize. I know I bumped the camera somehow. I don't know how it happened, but I'm going to keep going because the process of this video, or of this journal page, took quite a bit, and a lot of stuff you're not even going to see. The end result looks a lot like the page I've done previously, but to get there, it takes a while. And the reason I'm keeping this going is because sometimes you just feel like you want to give up on a page. You screw up, you can't get it right. What are you going to do? Well, you keep adding layers. That's what you do. You just keep adding more. So here I've gessoed the page with a thin coat of gesso with a gift card. I scrape it on. Now I am just using cheap acrylic paint, all different colors. What I'm going to do is I want to try to match the green that's in the picture. She's leaning out a window with a green siding around her, and my hope is to match the green. Sometimes I am flippin' awesome at this and I nail it right away or within the next first color or two. This video shows time where I am not awesome. I am not great at matching it, but I'm still going to make it work. Well, actually, in the end, I'm going to cover it all up, but I don't even know that yet. So I'm just going to keep adding more colors. I know it's kind of a green-gray, and this is a fun way to do it. I really like doing this. Just keep scraping more colors. Sometimes I use a heat gun, as I've done here, to dry the paint. Other times I use deli paper to rub it across the paint and pick it up. I know that last color I did was too bright and I need some dark depth to it, some darkness. So I'm going to go way too dark and then cover it up with another brighter green. Going all the way to the edge. I put deli paper under it to catch all the extra paint, so hopefully it won't get under on the other page that I've done. Still just scraping with a gift card, getting all that paint out of the crack of the book. More drying. Sometimes once I've done a few layers of paint, I don't tend to go with the deli paper because then it pulls up some of the under layers that have been on there, and then I get down to the paper. Just because I think it gets so much and I don't put a really thick layer of gesso on it. I know that this color is way, way too dark, but I'm just going to dry it off so I can add some more. So here we go. We're going to add another color, see what happens there. See how it changes with that darkness going through. It's kind of okay. I'm getting there. I feel a little bit better now. I don't see this as a waste of paint. I used to. I used to think, oh, all that paint is just gone. All that paint that won't be seen. But some areas it does pop through. And it doesn't matter. I'm just enjoying the process, especially when I'm doing a page that says Enjoy where you are right now. I can't really be irritated about it. I've got to fully embrace the quote I'm doing and enjoy where I am now. So it is kind of fun to just keep trying and trying and trying. If it gets frustrating sometimes, which it does, then it's time to walk away and come back to it later. I'm not going to fight with a page, and I typically don't, but there are some times where it just does not work. Step away, go do something else, come back another day or two. I've now added an avocado green color, just another cheap craft paint color, and I think I like this. This is pretty close. And I remembered something else. First I'm going to clean it up some more, get all that paint out of the crack. I want to get paint out of the crack. Always it seeps into other pages, and it stays wet. It just never ever dries. There's so much in there. So just scrape it out. Yeah, sorry about how crooked it is. I'm in that crack and along the edges of the paper. It's just kind of wet. I have a lot of paint on that, so I'm just going to pick it up with this. Now I kind of don't mind if it pulls up a little bit because there's so much paint underneath it, I think, in my head. This is my thought process. It could be that I just ripped the page in half. We'll see. Now, what you can't see very well, and I'm sorry, is since my paper that I painted was darker and her siding on the outside of her house was lighter, I'm just going to take that final paint that I used and paint over her siding. Darken it up a bit. So I'm trying to be as neat as I can to stay on the siding. I do get a little messy, but it's easy to clean up because it's a glossy picture. So I'm just going to get a baby wipe, quick wipe it off before it totally dries. And even if it dries, I can kind of scrape it off or wipe it off because it's glossy. So I feel good about this. It's not a total match, but pretty good. I mean, you saw all the layers I went through, so this is pretty good for what I ended up with. Now I'm just going to do a final, make sure it's all dry. I don't want to press the deli paper on the paint there, because it would pull up too much. So now I've got to figure out where she's going to go on the page and what to do. The green is a little bit too much around her, so I think I'm going to do some collaging behind her. I've got a great tree book. There's a lot of weird trees in here, so I'm going to see what I can find. I thought this page would be cool, but I thought that's a lot to cut out. Sometimes my thought process was that I was going to cut out each limb and make that all work. But then I came to this and I thought, maybe I'll cut it out, but then how do I get the leaves? I'm not really sure. I'm just going to rip it out and see what to do. I decided that there's too many details to cut out in this to make it work, and I don't feel like painting leaves today, so I'm just going to collage this on the page and make it blend in with her. She'll be sort of a woman of the trees. So I'm not measuring anything, I'm just cutting it up in chunks. And I just want to get most of the main tree on there. I could have just left it in one big strip, but this kind of adds a little bit of movement or texture maybe, I'm not sure. So I'm going to put some glue on my page first. Since my page has so much paint on it, glue can be a little tricky to stick to it. It should be okay because it's really cheap paint. It seems like the more expensive, the better acrylic paint is trickier to glue to. So I'm just going to smack these down, straighten them out. I'm using a foam book to glue my pages on, to put the glue on my pages. Keeps it way cleaner for me and keeps the stickiness down. So I'm just going to keep putting it on that, straighten it out a little bit, and see where this takes me a minute. I want to add a little bit more. It just looks like I glued 3 sections together, but I don't want it to look like that. And since it was such a huge book that I took this out of, I've got a lot of that tree picture left over that I'm going to use. If I wanted to, I could choose another tree picture and combine the two, layer them up. No big deal, but I just chose to stick with this. My strips are not measured, not anything fancy. Just layered it on top the long way. Thought I'd break it up a little bit. Now, she is there. I think I like her in the corner there, since she can kind of be looking up at the tree. What I want to do though is fill up that top spot. I thought that maybe sometimes I put just a few strips of collage and leave the paint in the background coming through. So I thought about doing that here. It's time to put her where she belongs, in the corner. I'm not using my phone book there, so I'm making my page a little sticky. Smoothing her down with a lint-free cloth. And taking a look. I feel like I don't want the paint to show through this time, so I'm gonna cover it up again. So all those layers of paint, all the figuring out the colors, all are covered up under collage. And I don't mind, because it's kind of fun knowing that I was intuitive. I listened to the page. I know it might sound weird to people, but like let it speak to me, and what it should be, and I'm good with that. It was paper, but I'm gluing a few strips over her now. Sorry you missed the one on the bottom there. You'll see it in a minute. I just took more of those tree strips and put it over the siding and then underneath there, to make her blend in a little more. This is a huge space to fill in with not too many words, which is kind of fun to make nice and big. It's tricky to write over collage pieces sometimes. It adds great texture, but texture isn't always the easiest to write over. I chose to use a chisel tip Sharpie this time so that the line of the words would be a bit wider. I might thicken them up, I might not sometimes. And for some reason I felt like the letters should be a little bit more round. Not my usual printing. She just seemed like she would be more of a rounder letter person. So I'm carefully, sometimes my letters have to stop and start and come from a different direction because of all of those layers of paper. Sharpies do not take long to dry. A paint marker or a paint pen would take a bit longer, but I do it just to finish it off. Now I'm just touching up some of my letters here. Sometimes your marker skips or jumps over a bump, so you gotta just touch it up, no big deal. And now my Uniball Signo pen that I love so much. I get these on Amazon, I think like a pack of 6. It's just, I love knowing I have so many. It'd be sad to have one and have it die and then not have my white Signo Uniball pen. So here I go again, outlining my letters like I always do. Black with white lettering or white outlining is kind of my thing. I just really love how it pops. I love it, love it, love it. Nice and simple, noticeable. And I'm just going to follow this through all the way to the end. I do try to do the center of the letter first and then outline it. I promise I make myself do this because one day I gave my mom a Mother's Day gift where I did some lettering and one of the centers was like not outlined and it annoys me to this day. I think I went back later with a white pen to finish it. So now I'm like, no center can be left behind. So we just finish it up there. Really simple. Punctuation, I did put a period at the end of this one. I just go with it. I don't know. It depends if the quote I have has that, I do it. If I don't, it's my art journal. It's nothing that's going to be published. Well, so I don't care. You just kind of got to go with it and see. This pen I've got to be careful with because it does stay wet for a while. So I have to be very careful with my outlining. I'm going to dry it off. I'm not going to rub it with wet deli paper. Now, it seems a little bit simple, this page. All I feel like I did was glue and write, which sometimes is enough, and this is kind of enough, but I wanted to add just a little more. And one of my favorite things to do is to add just a bit of shimmer. Nothing crazy. I'm using the raindrops, not to really symbolize rain, almost like things. I use the raindrops, and I kind of feel like it represents things washing over me. Good thoughts, good vibes. Her acceptance of where she is, her enjoyment, the mercies of God washing over me, the forgiveness of God, the love, anything really. Just a cheap acrylic glitter paint. I love these so much. They come in different colors. It just adds a little bit of shimmer and sparkle to the page. So all in all, it's a busy, busy page. A lot of tree stuff going on, kind of a jungle, and she's kind of trapped in it a bit, but at the same time, I love nature. I put nature in a lot of my pages. So if I'm going to enjoy where I am, sometimes I need to take that moment in nature and just go out there, look, walk, reflect on it. And so I like to put that in my journals. So that's it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Thanks for watching.